G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'm up here at Port Stephens, and I'm up here at a beach called 1 Mile Beach. And as you can see, there are people everywhere. Even though it's autumn, there are people swimming and enjoying this wonderful location on Good Friday. What I would like to do today is continue my tradition of Jim's 5am Club and deliver another book summary. The book summary that I have to talk about today is entitled The 100-Year Life by an author named Lynda Gratton. The 100-Year Life. Who would ever think that we'll ever get to 100 years of age? But with advances in science, nutrition, with the medical equipment and medical institutions, it's becoming much more of a reality for our generation than for any generation that has come before us. I was reading a little earlier today that for people who were born in 1950, chances are that 1/3 of males will make it to the age of 90 plus, and over 50%, yes, 50%, over half of the females will live to 90 or more, which is remarkable. And to put this into perspective, we have examples of places that are known and called blue zones. One place in particular is Gratton in Greece, where people, 1/3 of the people, live to the age of 90 or more, and it's considered to be an absolute miracle that so many people make it to their 90s and beyond. I think Australia has had almost 20 people who have become super seniors, who have lived to the age of 120 or more. 20 people have lived 120 years, which is absolutely phenomenal. And as we're saying, things can only get better because there's been changes to our diets, there's improved infrastructure, and so much more advances that we have in terms of our knowledge bank, that is going to help lots of people live longer and better lives. But with those advanced years, there's no guarantee that people are going to live a better life or a healthier life, because we have the onset of mental health issues, dementia, and all of those other challenges that are going to beset all of us as we get older. So the author here says that getting your finances right is essential to a 100-year life. Because if you're living 100 years, you're going to need money to get to 100. You're either going to need money or you're going to need a family structure, a family foundation, who are going to be able to fund and secure those later years in your life when you won't be able to be earning an income, at least from physical exertion. So we need to get our finances right as a starting point. And the sad thing is that these days a lot of people aren't getting their finances right because they're blowing their savings, they're blowing everything on holidays, on luxuries, on motor vehicles, and they're basically creating an issue, a very, very big issue for themselves, for later in their lives, because they're not going to have the financial means to be able to get through those challenging health issues and all of the other cost of living challenges that are plaguing the world at this point in time. So we need to get our finances right, and we need to get the things, our environment around us right as well, which is also another challenging, because the social traumas that are besetting the world, a lot of people are divorcing, a lot of people are separating, a lot of people are having multiple families, but these things are not going to guarantee a secure future for those people, because each generation that's coming through these days is more and more, I assume, I can't say this categorically, but you tend to feel that people these days are a lot more selfish and independent in their own needs, and less likely to be supportive of other people and to want to care for others, making it more likely that people will be shunted into old people's homes and retirement villages well before their time, and forgotten unless they've got a huge inheritance, which will invite people to continue to see them as being worthy of attention. The author goes on to say that money is far from being the most important resource, though. In order to live a long, happy and healthy life, you need family, you need friendships, you need your mental health, and happiness are all crucial components for all of us, because living into your 90s is no longer a rarity. It's a fair expectation for us to all enjoy extended longevity and to live a longer life. So the author goes on to talk about some of the reasons that are helping people live longer and better lives. We've got medical advancements and in-depth research about lifestyle choices that shape the world and help us increase our longevity. Our standards are higher today than in the past. Smoking is no longer a social norm, and sugar was once on every table, whereas people these days, not all, but many people are at least a lot more educated in terms of the disadvantages of sugar and all of those so-called toxins in their diet. We have many breakthrough discoveries through that add decades to our lives, and believe it or not, people are a little bit more health conscious. Once again, not all people, because we do have the onset of obesity, whilst we have moments of positivity where people go to the gym and live a healthy lifestyle. We also have indulgences like alcohol abuse and calorie abuse and many issues surrounding mental health. And we've got examples like in Australia, the country that has everything, the country that has plenty, also has one of the highest per capita suicide rates amongst teenagers in the world. Who would have thought that a first world country like Australia that has everything would be a statistic that would be worrisome for many people. You've got countries throughout the world where children are dying of malnutrition, children are dying through war, being, shot, bombarded, people dying through natural disasters. And yet those children, if they had the opportunity, would do everything in their powers to survive. And yet we've got other children who are brought up in middle-class families, in wealthy families, who can't even tell and appreciate and accept and acknowledge their sexuality, their gender, their privilege, which is quite sad. And they end up wasting their lives through confusion and through being manipulated by influencers and the media. So the bottom line is there's always going to be people within our lives, within each generation, who are going to have problems, but those people are also going to be the source of their own problems as well. But the author here says, for those who choose life, who choose to make the most of their life, then they need to prepare for old age by learning new skills and doing the things that are going to help them grow and develop and make the most of those additional years that they're going to be gifted with. For example, we have technology now which is at the forefront, is in its early days. We've got artificial intelligence and robotics that are able to provide error-free results, which we can have artificial intelligence and robotics working with us to help us have a better life, to help us focus on nutrition, on fitness and on mental health, and to continue to enable us to learn, to grow and develop in ways which we have never thought possible. The reality is, for those who are positive, for those who have an open mind and who are not pessimistic, is that the world today is a much better place than what it's ever been before. There are much more opportunity today for everybody to live a better life. Even a person on the pension, even the person on welfare can potentially live a better life here in Australia than every king ever lived in any generation that has preceded us. People can travel the world. People can be in constant contact with each other through social media, through video conferencing, can access music, can have free access to all the free services on the internet, and can become entertained, can be entertained at the touch of a button. They can watch movies, they can watch documentaries, they can watch YouTube, and it's all free and it's all available here and now. No generation has ever had the blessings that our generation have had, and for those who have a thirst for life, for those who enjoy living and learning, there's never been a better time to do the most of those things than what you can right here, right now. So in order to build on our financial strengths, the author talks about, we need to welcome failure in moderate ways, because we all learn that there comes an age where you can't afford to fail and fail big, because big failures could be the end of your opportunities. But we can fail small. We can learn, fail, and use those small failures as stepping stones to future successes. And the world, as we mentioned, has changed for the better. You have more flexibility now to live a life like no one who ever came before you. But it doesn't mean that we turn our back on God. It doesn't mean that we can turn our back on the church. It doesn't mean that we can turn our back on marriage, on family, on community. It doesn't mean that we can turn our back on our biological genealogy. It doesn't mean that we can turn our back on many things. You know, as my mother once told me when I was a young boy, she goes, "Son, I send you to a good school. I send you to a good Christian school so that you can become educated in order to become a better Christian than those who have come before you, so that you can take the traditions, the customs, and all the lessons, the life lessons that have been handed down to us and that we can pass on to you, and for you to be the magic strong link to be able to link the many generations that came before us, the 3 generations specifically that came before you, to the next 3 generations, so that they too can learn and leverage those beautiful traditions and customs and life lessons that we've all had come our way through the love of our families, through the sacrifice of those who have lost their lives, so that we can have a better life today. Today, whilst we can become more independent, it doesn't mean that we have to be disenfranchised and disconnected from those around us. No, we should be forcing ourselves to become more connected in productive ways and to help each other live a better life. The reason why we become wealthy, the reason why we enjoy better health, the reason why we become more educated than previous generations is so that we can share these gifts, this additional wealth, with others who are less fortunate, who don't have the abilities that we have, that don't have the network that we enjoy, that don't have the money that we've got banked in our buildings and in our bank accounts, that don't have the health that we quite enjoy. No, it's up to us to seek and to help those who are in need, so that they too one day can become stronger, better and more capable, and to be able to deliver the ripple effect that we have started to help others enjoy a better, more fruitful and productive life. Now, we have technology today, thanks to the pandemic, that have opened our eyes to remote work, to become freelancers, to be able to link and interact with people, not only in the same room, in the same suburb, the same city, the same state, the same country, but anywhere on the planet. And we have room to explore. We have technology that allows us to become adventurers in the world and to change our career at any particular point in time, and to monetize the various skills that we are blessed with. So there you go. There's a wonderful lesson that has come from this author of this book, The 100-Year Life by Lynda Gratton, who reminds us that there is plenty for us to do, and that we should be grateful because we live in a world that has more opportunity, more to offer than any time in the past. So the invitation, the call to action is to make the most of what you got, but also to prepare diligently for your future in both financial terms, but also from a family and a network perspective, because in order to live a long and productive life, first and foremost, it needs to be God's will, we all have a different fate. Just because we tick the box and do all the things that the medical profession and what this author says doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to have a long and healthy life. You know, it's God's will at the end, and we just got to believe and trust in God's providence. So I think I'll leave it there. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode from 1 Mile Beach up here at Nelson Bay. It's full tide, and as I said, it's whilst it's overcast, it's mild, it's not too cold, it's not too windy, and I expect, based on the number of people in the water temperature is also very pleasant. I will be going for a swim later this morning. I'll just go home, get my swimming attire, and just go for a swim at Shoal Bay now that it's full tide, and make the most of this early morning. Yasas, take care, and bye for now.